Hello! Welcome back to Hold On, I'm Talking Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood, and you are listening to our review of UFC 313, which was headlined by Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev for the light heavyweight division. As per usual, I'm joined by my regular co-host Tom Ballerman. Tom, you've been teasing me in the texts. You've been raring to go to get into this pod, get into this main event, get into this main card. You haven't even given me a hint of your feelings on this. So let me just ask you straight up. Satisfied with the card?
Oh, you start with one of the most difficult questions. I mean, it was a cracking card, like the best it could possibly be, up until the most important fight that we were all very excited about, which, needless to say, didn't really get the juices flowing.
No,
not to the maximum extent. No.
Okay, interesting. Right, well, we'll get into it. Main event: Magomed Ankalaev is the new light heavyweight champion of the world, defeating Alex Pereira by unanimous decision. I mean, it seems like you think there's some controversy here. For me, this is just straight up quite an easy fight to score, to be honest. And I thought it was clear winner, to be honest. And that's the UFC because they got the champion that they deserve. So that's the that's what I think.
Hence our discussion earlier on today. I could immediately see we were set apart when you were just so confident. I said, well, I'll need a second watch through.
Of what?
You know, to really get a finger on this card, not on this card, because the fights before this were pretty clear. But in this fight, I don't know, Joe. I don't know. You got to go through with a fine-tooth comb and look at some of those rounds, I think.
No. I don't think so. To be honest, I know that everyone... Okay, so let's go through this.
Yes.
Right. Should I just give my score straight up and then go from there?
No. Okay. I don't think so. I think we got to go. I think we got to go round by round. Now, look, let me give you a bit of context, Joe.
I've already tried to forget this fight, by the way, just to let you know. So I might be struggling a bit on some of the finer details, but I've got the general picture of it. Let's go.
Right. And hence my concern in the messages we exchanged today.
I'm not watching it again because I thought, okay, can I just give my general thought just quickly on the performances in this fight? Ankalaev.
Yes.
Ankalaev gave Pereira's performance, and Pereira gave Ankalaev's performance. I thought Pereira goofed it. I thought he was, frankly, god awful and deserved to lose.
I'm pretty neutral on that comment. I'm not going to get right behind it. I don't think it's as simple as that. Let's go round by round, Joe, because I feel like tensions are building here, and we didn't even start talking about the fight, so we better get into it. Well, look, all right. I mean, I have to give you a bit of context. It's only fair, because this might have shaped my perception of the fight. All right. When we finished recording last night, or the last time, when we were giving our preview, it feels like just yesterday, Joe.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was. It was
2-3 days ago. I know you've got kids and all, but like...
Well, you're just ever present, mate. That's the last significant moment in my life was talking about... it was talking about the fact that going into this card, we know we're going to be watching it on Sunday because we're from the UK, and there's just one golden rule looking at a fight card like this, and it's do not...
Yes, yeah, that was the last thing you said.
Do not do it, because this fight is everything. You go into the card knowing the result, and it's gonna slant everything. There's gonna be a certain perspective that shapes everything. And I found out the result just completely foolishly. I woke up.
BBC Africa.
Right. That's only in Ngannou. It's just in Ngannou related fights. You can't be looking at BBC Africa. That's my top tip for the listeners. No, unfortunately, it was sadder than that. I woke up and was like, right, better avoid any UFC content here. I'm just kind of waking up. I'll have a little scroll through Facebook, not with anything in mind. I lasted about 20 seconds before it was right there that Ankalaev had won, and then I did it again, Joe, and I found out the method of victory. Or I saw the top of the headline. It was judges' scorecard. So it was either like someone had knocked someone out and it was a surprise, or it was like, okay, it's gone to decision. So that was a dark cloud that followed me through the fight. I just want to get that out there before we start with round one.
Right. Well, let's start with round one then. This was, I think, pretty much demonstrated my entire issue with Alex Pereira's performance in this fight, which was he threw those sort of calf kicks, which I was told by the commentary any second now Ankalaev was going to be on the ground rolling around in agony from all these calf kicks. Funnily enough, didn't happen. Conceding ground, and then absolutely no use of the hands at all from Pereira in round one. And we saw Ankalaev kind of controlling the centre. Not a lot of output. He was moving Pereira around. He wasn't like, gaethje marching down Michael Johnson. It was, a UFC title fight where two guys are trying to start to feel each other out. A bit of lead hand fighting. A couple little body jabs from Ankalaev. I think he threw like one right hand towards the end of the round. That's about it. And that was pretty much the first 5 minutes of them just sort of like feeling.
It was slim. It was slim. It was a difficult round.
So can you blame me then for, on my first viewing, kind of going like, or my first sort of mental read through going like, I could give that to Ankalaev. I could give that round to him.
I mean, for the untrained eye, yeah, I could understand that, but not my co-host here on Hold On, I'm Talking Brother, because you're a vet, and for me, look, it was slim pickings. It was slim pickings, but there is context here. There is context here.
If you don't give enough to score, and you start bringing in like, well, Ankalaev was sort of like in the middle, and you're not gonna
like this. You're not gonna like this. Like I imagine you would think every fight should be a clean slate. Like like it's a fresh jury who knows nothing about the offender and the the victim. It should be like that, completely like neutral. But it's not. It's not. All right. These guys have a certain legacy, a certain history.
So hold on. So basically you were going off of the myth of Alex Pereira's power, and you were like, those calf kicks, man. Let me tell you. Joe Rogan's telling me.
No, I just have to look at his previous fights, and it's like, okay, if he's getting that calf kick off like that with such frequency, we've seen that the damage that can do, and we can see what that's forced previous fighters, looking at you, Yuri Prochazka, how it's forced them to fight. So it's a round that Pereira would come in pretty happy with, I would say.
Yeah.
And with that context, I think it was not a clear Pereira round, but I think you've got to be edging in that direction. Look, it's also, I do believe in this, you've got to beat the champ a little bit. I don't go the whole way out. You don't have to knock him out. You don't have to beat him massively definitively. But if it's a draw of a round, or it's a 55-45, really close, either way, you've got to lean towards the champ.
No, I disagree with that. I scored it for Pereira, but I think it kind of, I started to see the problems that were coming. And I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens with round two, because obviously you have to score it with a fresh slate and all that. And then Pereira just continued to have the same problems of just kicking the legs, for Ankalaev going to the body. And then Ankalaev was the first one to go up top at the end of really round two, cracking Pereira. Again, it was so weird. I've just never seen Pereira fight like this. And then I was thinking, like, is he literally not punching, jabbing at all because he's worried about arms being out of position because of the takedown against a guy who doesn't really throw takedowns?
It's the most obvious conclusion, and I
do you believe
lean
that?
Towards. Well, I don't know what else it could be, because he's also biting on Ankalaev's feints in a way that you don't see with other fighters.
Weird, wasn't it?
It was weird. It was a very lethargic performance. Like, he was very quick in individual strikes, like when he would switch from a low kick to go high, he whipped it up there real quick. Like, in individual strikes, it was there. You saw little moments, but he just didn't really put anything together, and he certainly didn't throw any combinations with aggression, with comfort.
Can I also just point something out, which is, the comparison, which is the clear one, which was to make with the Blachowicz-Ankalaev fight with the calf kicks, where you think, oh, Blachowicz got Ankalaev to react like that, so Pereira will as well. You have to remember as well, Ankalaev was checking the calf kicks against Blachowicz, but Blachowicz just blasted through them, where he was just like, fuck it, check them if you want. It's going to hurt me, and it's going to really hurt you, so check them. I don't care. It was that attitude which caused Ankalaev, who was then, he thought, like, I'm doing the right thing, but it's not working. Whereas here against Pereira, I always felt that Ankalaev was quite light on his feet. Nothing was really planted. Thus, therefore, his strikes never really landed a significant power advantage, if that makes sense, until the second round. At the end of that, when he cracked Pereira with the right hand. And that was also at a point as well in that round where I felt like Pereira, he caught him with the right hand after Pereira had missed with a shot as well, and he sort of caught him off balance. And Pereira's footwork in this whole fight was very, very flat, I thought, and I think that led to a part of the problem, because for me, Pereira at his best is kind of like the classic thing to say, like someone stalking their prey. You know, kind of like prances into range, doesn't he, on the balls of his feet, and then he plants his feet with the disguise of the hands, and then he can throw it full power. He just never did that in this fight. He was always flat-footed, I felt like, and he was kind of very noticeably just sort of like trying to circle away. And I think that's got what got him in trouble in that second round. So I'm just going to say this up front. I had the second round for Ankalaev.
I think that's fair as well.
Okay,
Joe,
good.
Yeah. Yes,
that's the clearest round, do you think, of the whole fight?
Well, without getting ahead of myself, I think like the Ankalaev, like the two rounds that are obviously definitive for Ankalaev. Like, if I zoom out, I don't want to kind of give the game up before we get there, but if I zoom out and I score it on a fight basis, then Ankalaev has won that fight.
Yes.
Right? If I score it as a fight basis. But we don't. We score it round by round. And I think an argument could be made for Pereira to win 3 rounds out of 5. I'm not saying I necessarily lean there, but I'm saying it's that close. It's that close. Well, and in fact, I kind of, if I didn't know the result, I really think that's where I would have expected the judges to go, having seen the fight.
Okay. All right. Well, should we go? Is there anything else about round 2 that you wanted to bring up?
Well, I mean, you highlighted most of it, and I agree. I think also like Ankalaev obviously grew into the round a lot. He grew into the fight, having had the first round, and I think he was a little bit tentative. And then when he started to step into range and walk Pereira backwards, he saw that Pereira ceded that ground, and he also saw that he wasn't punished for getting into those spaces.
No.
And that's when he thought, like, oh, right, you know, like
here
this
we go.
guy's, here we go. Like, okay, I'll step in and I'll uncork some combinations. And of course, he's got good boxing, Joe. He's got good, crisp boxing. He looked fast, and he was miles ahead in the second round.
He looked faster than Pereira as well, which I thought was surprising.
Apart from in these odd moments, you know, these brief moments in between the kind of lethargy that Pereira carried, he did, you know, he still when he went for it. You know, there were flashes. There were flashes of the athlete that we know that he is.
Yeah, I agree. So round 3 then.
This is the close one. The closest.
You think so?
Or it's as close as round 1 and maybe round 5.
So I thought round 5 was pretty clear to me, but we'll get to that. What about round 3? Talk me through round 3 then, in your mind's eye of like how you're scoring it.
Well, this is probably the main round I'd go to. I'd be interested in 1, 3 and 5, because I think 2 and 4, they're obvious Ankalaev rounds. I don't think there's any controversy to that. 3, like, I really would have to dial into every detail of the round, because my memory it's kind of like you know, Ankalaev was advancing, but not with the same success that he had in the second. And Pereira started landing his kicks again, and you know, so it was kind of like I thought Pereira possibly could have outstruck him in the round.
He numerically outstruck him, but I thought quality wise, again, it's just the fixation on the leg kicks that I think was a real undoing for him in this fight. Like, for example, I'm just getting it up here.
It's 15 leg kicks in that
15
round versus 2 to the body and 4 up top.
I know that people don't want to hear this, but judges don't score leg or body work the same way as they do a shot.
Unless the damage is obvious, right? Unless you can see the other guy limping or wincing from getting kicked in the stomach. Or the shark bite. Jan Blachowicz.
Jan Blachowicz shark bite, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, unless you're getting that sort of response. So I think in terms of like, I guess how do you call it, game management, you know, where, you know, you got to try and wind down the clock a little bit here. You know, you're taking the ball in the corner and making sure you've got control of possession. Like, Pereira never felt like he had control of possession. It was all single pot shots, nothing coming through. Whereas Ankalaev, I always felt like Ankalaev had the better work. Like, yeah, you can say, oh, Pereira outstruck him with calf kicks, which ultimately didn't really do much. And this whole thing
tough
of like,
to score like that, Joe.
I kept saying though that Ankalaev kept switching stances from that. It's just like he was shifting, he was moving stances, and kind of like slowly cutting him off because the pace of the fight was so slow as well. The output was really low from these guys as well. So they kind of made it closer than it should have been. Again, I just prefer Ankalaev's work in this round. That's kind of why I gave it to him, and the fact that he was in the center, like
I'll say, like I leant towards Ankalaev. I will say that. Say that in the third round, but I just meant it's not razor close. It's very, very close. It's a 45%. You know, it's.
Do you know what this is? This was Dricus du Plessis, Sean Strickland 1. Do you know what I mean? Where it was like, oh, it's so close, and I'm like, having to judge a jab versus a janky body kick. It's like, you know, do you know what I mean? Like, there's those sort of like middle rounds there where it kind of flitted away. But yeah, I gave it to Ankalaev. I don't understand why because you picked Ankalaev to win by decision, so you nailed it. I did. So then, yeah. But why are you feeling so depressed about it?
It's like one word, yeah. It's humility.
The most humble thing you can do is brag about your humility. So yeah, fair play.
I'm known for my humility. Yeah, I mean, well, look, I definitely wanted Pereira to win this fight, and it could have been pretty funny, Joe. It could have been very easily like Ankalaev has fluffed his lines again. He's beaten him, but he's found a way to lose the fight, and that I would have found that pretty funny because he didn't really win the fight. He didn't really win it. He had two good rounds out of 5. He had 2.
And how many good rounds? How many good rounds did Pereira have? 1. I thought the 5th was his best round for Pereira, but that's just me.
Right. Okay. Well, I was getting set up for an argument with you about round 5. I mean, round 5, obviously, you know, one of the judges did give it to Ankalaev, I believe. So I thought you could have been in that school of thought, and that would have disappointed me greatly.
No.
Can we talk about round 4?
I mean, just.
Did you love it?
Oh, I adored every second of it. No, it was. Do you know what? Do you know what? Actually, that was taking the ball in the corner. That was I'm running down the clock a bit here.
It was,
and it was fight management, and you know, I'm doing work. And fair play to Mark Goddard. I know Joe Rogan's like, oh, you know, you got to fight off from that position, and actually you should start every round with the position you were in at the end, which is nonsense. You know, his whole stupid take. Mark Goddard, I'm going to say it, is one of the best referees for breaking stuff up. Of like, you ain't advancing. I know what you're doing. Yeah, you give me these bullshit shots. I'm splitting you up. Get back in the middle. Let's start again. And then if you get into the cage again, I'll give you that time. Absolutely fine with the breaks. But again, Pereira just conceding ground, conceding time, allowing Ankalaev to control the fight and the rhythm and the tempo. Like, it felt like the whole fight was Pereira waiting for a takedown or waiting to land a big shot. It was very strange.
But not really putting anything out there to land that big shot.
No, exactly.
You know?
It's weird. It's like a guy who we've seen him set up big shots. We know he can do it, you know.
I just think, I do. You know, it's so hard to analyze in an event like this. Like, why do they suddenly look this way? Where does Adesanya versus Strickland come from? You know, like how does that happen?
Yeah. Well, I've got a theory about Adesanya Strickland that maybe I can say for afterwards because it will link to this.
Right.
But yeah, go on.
Well, and one of them is like, oh, well, maybe he's not taking it as seriously, and the other one is like you know, because obviously his weight is all over the place, and he's this big internet celebrity now, and you know he's maybe played into that a little bit more. Like that is one of the things that starts to come out, isn't it? That kind of argument, and the other is like he is absolutely terrified of getting taken down, you know, because he knows if he's on his back. This is what I said in our preview. If he gets taken down, he ain't getting up, and his threat could be diminished by the time he spends on the mat. So. Yeah, I think that's got to be a huge part of it, that he just didn't want Ankalaev getting his arms locked, and he fought him off. Let's be fair. He fought off the takedowns. He broke arms. He fought, you know, hand control and positions.
Yeah. I was impressed with some of that, particularly in the 5th round when he showed a bit more urgency. I think in the 4th he was happy to concede it because it's like, well, I've got another round. It always felt like I've got time, and then when the time left him, it's like shit. I better get a move on.
But then in round 4, when he goes back to the corner, you know, he looks like Leon going into the corner after getting controlled by Usman. Yeah, this is Leon Edwards-esque for sure. And he looked like, you know, he did not want to be there. He looked like beaten. He looked beaten going in. at the end of round 4.
Come on, Alex, man, you got it, man. Like, you just need a game in there. Get Big Dave in there, man. Come on. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It was weird. I know what you mean. He did seem broken, and in the 5th, he had such fight and fire and spunk to him. Like, the 5th round, I texted it to you. He finally started jabbing him, and I've been saying it throughout the fight. Like, jab him. He's right there. Like, you can jab him with single shots, and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And then he finally, I remember the first one, he landed it, and you see Ankalaev's hair puff up, and his head snap back. You're like, fucking finally, man. Like, you don't have to throw high kicks. Calf kick, jab, right hand, right, the 1-2, and then the left hook. Just throw those 3 combos. Single jab, 1-2, calf kick, and then the left hook if it's there. Throw those 4 shots. He would have fucking won this fight. But he chose not to. It felt like he was like, I'll just wait for it. It'll come. And then it didn't. I was so frustrated. I gave him the 5th round, by the way, because I thought the work in the first 2.5 minutes was superior to the
clinch control from Ankalaev. Thank God. You know, I was worried for our relationship if you had ended up going.
Rounds 2 and 5 were the most obvious to me.
I find that interesting. I mean, round 4 I thought was a really clear Ankalaev round. So the fact remains, I also gave it to Pereira. I don't have much to add there. It was probably the funnest round of the fight because I thought Pereira was going somewhere until Magomed kind of just snuffed out the interest by suppressing him with cage control. And I think after a performance like that, you know, if it'd come out like, all right, 48-47 Pereira, that was and Pereira's like, not my best performance anyway. You know, like
I wasn't up.
Yeah, exactly. you know what I'm saying? Like, and no mention of Ankalaev ever again. That would be fine, Joe. We've seen much more egregious things happen, and most of the fan base I think would be for it. It's just fine. Just let Pereira have this one. Ankalaev didn't win. He didn't go out and win it.
I'm afraid to say he did win it. And can I tell you what I want next?
So let's just be clear. Wait, it's 2, 3, and 4 for Ankalaev, and 1 and 5 for Pereira.
That's how I have it, yeah.
God, if you're winning a championship fight on that 3rd round, then that is just shameful. Like, that's the champion. Get out of here. That's the champion. Like, there's nothing in that round.
Did you have the same anger when Drickus won? I don't think you did. I think you enjoy Drickus's jankiness, where you're like, oh, I can forgive this.
I love it. I love it, and
you love it.
I don't know. It's like the Merab Davashvili school of winning. You know, it's him beating Jose Aldo. It's all of that.
Just anyone from the Caucasus Mountains. Is it? It's not actually. You know, it's not anyone from the Caucasus Mountains, is it? Because who are the guys from the Caucasus that you like? You like Islam, don't you?
I love Islam. Islam's an amazing fighter.
Exactly.
Yeah, but he tries to finish fights. He goes after his opponents. He does damage. He carries a huge threat. He's really good.
Yeah. I mean, Topuria is a bit 50-50 if you're going to say he's from the Caucasus. I know his parents are from there, but he was born in Germany. He lives in Spain. Like, I don't know what to say. Yeah. Anyway, I think there is a lineage here with Adesanya Strickland, right? I felt like one of the reasons why Adesanya, these years removed now, after the losses he's had since, it came after the win over Pereira, right? And Pereira had beaten him 3 times in a row. We know the story. Finally beats him, finally vanquishes him, and he's got that hoodoo off of him. And then it's like, oh, I don't really have a direction. I don't really have a meaning. I don't really have a purpose anymore. And I think Pereira's kind of a bit of a weird spot as well with that, because it's not that, oh, he finally beat Khalil Roundtree. It's like, not only, so I came over, beat Adesanya, we had the thing here. I've then gone on and become my own man. I'm no longer linked to Adesanya. I'm my own star. Yeah. And I'm at this huge apex. Yeah. And it's like,
oh, he's conquered the mountain.
Now what?
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why Ankalaev should never have got this fight. Because he's too damn good
should have been
for
Drickus.
The profile, the size of Pereira. You know what I mean? He's such a banana skin. Such an obvious banana skin, you know.
It's the most obvious. Him and Merab, Merab against O'Malley, and Ankalaev against Pereira is about as obvious as it gets, isn't it?
And it's really funny if you just keep denying these guys. So, I'm a little bit bitter about it, but I definitely hear what you're saying. Yeah, like Pereira definitely was looking past Ankalaev, thinking about the big time fights. That's where he's reached. It's just like what the crowning.
I mean, he can never
now.
fight. He can never fight Tom Aspinall or John Jones now.
No, yeah.
Could you imagine what that would look like? That would be a monstrosity.
Yeah, it would. It would. And that like
versus him versus Tuivasa. Now that I'm up for. Come on, man, let's do it. That sounds
quite funny. I will.
Yeah,
I will say. Yeah, the thing with this fight, like the Tom fight, we knew, right? We knew like Tom.
Oh God, we knew. Come on, man.
Yeah, he's just gonna tear him limb from limb. He's way too big. But John, I know you say that was obvious, but there was a bit like could he? Like I don't know. That was there, and then it's gone.
Have you finally come to accept that John Jones' performance against Miocic was absolute arse?
No,
like I've long thought.
Definitely, no.
It was.
No, you won't get that out of me. But I will say that just like the prospect of Jones Pereira is interesting. It was interesting.
Maybe. All right, let me put this out there as well. Then, positive thing about Ankalaev winning is that John Jones has to face Aspinall now, no matter what.
Yeah.
Or retire ducking Tom Aspinall.
He's going to retire.
Do you reckon?
I'm certain.
Or do you think the UFC are like, shit, the Poatan fight's gone. Should we give him the extra $5 million and get this over the line?
Yeah, and then there's the argument like with Saudi money and if they could bring it out there, they want the biggest spectacles, the biggest fights, and that's out there. But I don't know. I think John sees past that. Like if you listen to his interviews, in that fight week with Stipe, I thought that he, made some sense on some level. I don't like if let's say I'm John Jones' dad, like son, leave it, like let it be. You've done enough, for sure.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I understand it from his perspective. I just think for the good of the sport, I don't particularly care what John Jones wants. So,
well, John Jones is not. He's not the good of the sport. He's the worst of the sport. A great thing for the sport would hit for him getting absolutely clapped,
molly-whopped by.
Yeah, he's getting absolutely whopped and just like, yeah, that John fella, he was all right, wasn't he? But got found out eventually.
Did you see Demetrius Johnson saying about John Jones' loss, where he's just like, he broke the rules. It's a loss.
I did see that, and I don't agree.
I'm 50-50 on it. Like, even when Matt Hamill's a bit like, no, he didn't really lose. I'm a bit like, okay, fine. And also, you have to remember, before the 12-6 elbows, Matt Hamill took an utter beating that probably should have been stopped before.
Yes, it would be. It would be in today's UFC.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's talk about this now. Rematch with Ankalaev, or do we move on?
I think it has to be a rematch. I think it has to be. I think Pereira has to want it. Like, I think he will want it.
Can I tell you the fights?
Please.
Pereira fights Jamal Hill. And Ankalaev fights Prohashka.
How is Jamal Hill anywhere near it? How is he anywhere near? He's coming off a loss.
Because it'd be funny.
But what about if Jamal Hill won the fight? What about if he won the fight? That would be a...
What's that?
I mean, what about if Hill won? That would be quite the come-off. That would be...
All right, then give it to me then, Tom. What do you want?
I think it has to be the rematch. I can't say I really want it, but I think Pereira can win the fight. Let's be real. And
just fight like round 5. Like, just do that. Just jab him up.
I think you're a little bit overly critical of his performance, because we do have to say, like, our main fear was that he would just get potentially steamrolled and taken down at will. And, he didn't.
No, I don't know. I thought it was a particularly bad performance. Like he
still could have won.
No, but he did. I honestly, I lean more towards Ankalaev winning 4 rounds than Pereira winning that fight. If you told me Ankalaev 4 rounds to 1, I'd be fine with that. If you told me Pereira won that, I'd be a little bit questioning. Because, Tom, I saved this for the end. Do you know who thought won that fight, that Pereira won that fight and that he was robbed? Did you see this? Do you know who said that?
I don't.
Mr. Brendan Sharp. So you're in that camp if you if you think that.
I take it all back.
Yeah.
I renounce my previous words.
Right. By the way, now we're going to move on to the co-main. Speaking of irritating performances. Rafael Fiziev loses to Justin Gaethje by, was it unanimous decision?
Yes.
29-28 across the board.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my good lord! I mean, Gaethje might be the dumbest fighter in the UFC, the smartest, dumbest fighter in the UFC. I've got to say, right? And Fiziev might just be the most irritating fighter known to man. Justin Gaethje, the smartest, dumbest fighter in the UFC, Tom, who managed to land some decent uppercuts in there, some blistering right hands, and Fiziev just kept giving it to him. And I was so annoyed watching this. What do you say to that?
I can completely understand that as a response, completely, but I loved it. It was.
I greatly enjoyed it.
It was an amazing fight. Two just super game fighters. Two fighters pretty much that you can, put in there against 90% of the roster, and they're going to give you a fun fight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the boys, they delivered. And part of that deliverance is Fiziev just absolutely wilting again in the face of Gaethje's pressure, and Gaethje just walked through him in the end.
How much do you put that down to the 12 days notice? Well,
considering it happened in almost identical fashion, at least like the visuals of Fiziev fading away as their first fight, I only put a little bit on the fact that it was short notice for Fiziev. I just think this is his destiny, should he match up with Gaethje.
Yeah. He could be the best 2-round fighter in the UFC. That's his place right now. I've got to say, I thought Fiziev really impressed me in the first round with just not firing out too much, and also like keeping everything at range. I thought was really good. Like body kicks at range. He didn't like just fire in, come in close, and he had to make Gaethje sort of like search for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the second round, that just went away. Like, just the amount of clinch fighting there was ridiculous. Giving Gaethje that opportunity. By the way, Gaethje basically landing the same 2 shots the whole fight, which was uppercut in the clinch and then big right hand on the clinch.
Clobbering right hand.
Every time.
Yeah, so I couldn't understand how he kept landing that, to be honest with you. It was just, Fiziev was just wide open for it. You could see him, Gaethje, even start to load it up. Then on the uppercut, it's really nice, it's sneaky, and the one that knocks him down is really beautiful, straight up, kind of like as they're in tight together. Gaethje's a hallmark shot, I would say.
Yeah.
But the right hand, I don't know what's going on with Fiziev there. Like he like I could see it, So,
yeah. I think after the second time it happened, I'm a bit baffled as to what Fiziev was kind of doing in there, and the fact that he had the success in the first round and then just never really went back to it. I mean, actually, I have to say, in the first half of that round, I was pretty impressed with Fiziev, but Gaethje just wore him down.
Yeah, well, it's interesting the two perspectives you can come at from this fight, because yes, absolutely, Fiziev won the first couple of minutes of the third and looked remarkably healthy considering the punishment he had taken in the latter half of the second after the knockdown. I thought it was actually pretty close to getting stopped. To be frank, the knockdown was big. Yeah. Fiziev did not have his wits about him, and then Gaethje just didn't quite generate big enough power. If he could really open up, he probably could have put Fiziev away in that round. Yeah. And then the third, it just seemed to be like Gaethje was like, all right, I'm just going to walk you down. Like that's enough of this. This
is not a contest anymore.
Exactly. Like, all right, enough with that. I'm just going to take these shots on my chin and just break you. And he did it. He did it. He absolutely did it.
By the way, if Gaethje fought like this against Hooker, I think first off, I think he'd easily win, and also I actually kind of feel like I'd be alright with that fight. I kind of need to know that Gaethje's not going to fight like an idiot in that fight but for me to be okay with it, just spiritually speaking.
It's a fun fight, Joe. I think Hooker could win that fight. You don't know with Gaethje. He needs to be in that kind of like wild state. There is an element of that where he needs to really be in under machine gun fire, to really find himself, and he has to have an obliging partner, that will let him enter that state. And I don't know, was it Fiziev's, was he fatiguing? Was he hurt? was it damage?
Like, there was a weird thing with his foot, wasn't there, with that skin sort of ripped off. That looked like a blister that had sort of been pulled off.
Yeah.
That was a bit weird. I don't know. I'm thinking near enough 18 months off and, not known for being a cardio machine, measuring himself on 12 days notice. I think that's all. I don't think there's one excuse. I think it's a concoction of things. And I don't know, like, I'm just happy for Zeev is back, to be honest. I don't know, just getting back out there. That's
yeah. I mean, we know he's not going to be a champion, right? Yeah. Like, we did say this is a bit of a crossroads fight. If he executed over the 3 rounds like he did in the first, super crisp, very athletic, good takedown defense, you could start to put him in that category where he could be an interesting question. You know what I mean? Higher up.
But now he's had 3 defeats in a row.
Yeah. But we talked about these defeats, right? Like, it was close. The gaethje one, the Moicano one was a little bit.
The Gamrot one.
Yeah, right. That was it. Yeah, he got injured in that fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now I think we've seen. We've seen the ceiling, and it's not at the top of the division. I was more happy to see Gaethje back. Obviously you worry for veteran fighters after knockout losses, especially such a public one as the one against Max. It could be a defining moment in his career, but you would never have known that fight had happened looking at Gaethje late in the fight here. And I got it wrong as well. Rumours of his demise were, greatly exaggerated again. And we said it. He could fight for a belt. It could happen. I thought
Gaethje looked a bit slow in this, to be honest. I wasn't seeing the same guy, even from the Max fight, to be honest. I thought he fought well, considering, he was basically using the same 3 tools. By the way, that head kick that he threw that Zeev pulled back away from, where he threw that in so close, was incredible. I'm guessing they're going to give him the title fight next.
I just want to add one more thing in. There is the broken hand. I thought you could see, that was bothering Gaethje.
Did he break his hand?
Yes.
He's not going to get the title fight then.
That could hold up his recovery. I think Gaethje's got the chance to fight for the belt one more time. He just has to, stay around the picture, and it's a fight that
one more win
potentially there. Yeah, one more win would make him undeniable, wouldn't it?
I'm almost tempted just to give it to him now. If the idea is to do Topuria Makhachev in October, for example, and let's say Makhachev could fight in June or July. Do you know what I mean? Just, get a nice warm-up.
Are we really waiting till October for Topuria Makhachev?
I'm going to guess that's the case.
God damn.
I know, it's a shame. I would like it to happen in July. That'd be perfect.
The Topuria Holloway fight was October.
I can't wait a year for Topuria.
Yeah, that seems right. And I don't want to wait too long for Makhachev, that. No. That Moicano was just a real stopgap, a bit of a non-event.
Appetizer. Yeah. That was an appetizer. Yeah. No, I agree. No, I want the full meal right now. I want Makhachev 2 more times this year, at least. Let's get, if anything, 4 or 5 times. But that's
just the last thing on Gaethje here. Is there a fight that he could win that wouldn't make him next in line? I'm just looking at the fighters amongst him. If he obviously overcame Oliveira or Poirier a third time, in their third fight, or Dan Hooker. All of those would make him next.
I think if he fought Hooker,
it might be a little bit weak.
Yeah, it might take so much out of him. I think if he fought any of those 3, I'm potentially thinking Paddy Pimblett, maybe, if he beats Chandler.
Right.
That sort of thing.
That would give him a title shot as well. So Gaethje is right 100%. there. So good for him. Just like Holloway, do we have an update on him?
I think he's still bulking, isn't he? I don't think he has a fight booked yet.
Right.
I don't know. I haven't heard any whispers, because Poirier is saying he's got something coming up, which will be his final fight. Topuria made that announcement.
Well, yeah, let's just, what seems we're talking about lightweight now, let's just mention that announcement. You know, he's got something so big you won't believe it. Like, is that something other than the Makhachev fight?
BJ Penn?
I wouldn't believe it.
What about this? Hold on. No, Toporia's does the lightweight gauntlet. So he fights Sean Shirk, BJ Penn, Frankie Edgar, Benson Henderson, Anthony Pettis, RDA.
Oof.
Yeah, all in one night.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is this in one night?
Yeah.
I think that might be too much for him. There's a few names there that can still get... It depends on the order of the fights, I think.
I think starting with RDA and finish with BJ Penn. That would be the ideal.
Yeah, right. It's all downhill.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So what do you want for Fiziev? Let's just finish on
He's fun. He's there. He's not going to be a champ. Like Fiziev Pimlet, fine. Fiziev Saint-Denis, fine. You know, you mentioned it. Yeah, I think like he's a good addition to the division. Fiziev Hooker, also fun. Doesn't deserve a big fight like that. But you know, these are he's one of them. You know, he's the next generation of just brawlers.
Love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of the next generation of brawlers, Ignacio Bahamondes defeats Jalen Turner by triangle choke. What is this, 2009? Getting a triangle choke? Gotta say, we'll get to Bahamondes. Jalen Turner, the best fighter with a 14-9 record that I can think of. That was... What a sad retirement that is.
If he's truly gone, I know they were trying to talk him out of it. Bilal was trying to talk him out of retiring. We didn't get the official gloves down, did we, or an interview? And I haven't seen anything since confirming his retirement. I would agree, it would be a loss. It would be a shame. 29, bad record, but a guy with just great tools.
By the way, he joined the UFC when he was 20. He joined the UFC when he was 23. Like, that's just too young.
Max Holloway would disagree.
Yeah, but Max Holloway's Max Holloway and Jalen Turner's Jalen Turner.
Yeah,
Let's get that right.
Yeah.
Jalen Turner, honestly, move up to welterweight, man. Just move up to welterweight.
I wonder though, Joe, because he's fighting a big lightweight here in Bahamondes.
Do you know what I felt happened? Bahamondes cracked him with one shot, and I just felt that Turner's confidence went.
Yeah.
I think draining yourself with the weight cut, knowing that that's going to compromise you to some degree, I would just take that out of it. Just bulk up a bit, go to welterweight, reduce your cut, make it a more comfortable experience for you, and then tell the UFC, give me 3 fights at welterweight, let me get it going. If it doesn't work, fine. But like, just give me that chance and let me fill into the division and give it a go, because it's never going to happen for him at lightweight. I just think he's too compromised. And then losing to a guy like Bahamondes, who, by the way, I thought put on a good performance, but I mean, Jesus, you're losing to that guy. I think Bahamondes is now going to be the weakest guy in the ranked lightweight.
But weaker than Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah.
Weaker than Grant Dawson.
Fuck off. Is he ranked?
He's 14th. He's back, Joe. Grant Dawson is back.
The boy. We lose Tony Ferguson, but we get Grant Dawson.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I just have to say, you know, like Dana was asked about Jalen Turner's retirement, and we've got to kind of recognise that Jalen hasn't really done very much, you know? Like, he isn't a legend of the sport. Like, there's not much patience to be afforded to him. So, like, you know, the gentle cushion, like, all right, a little run at beltweight, build your confidence up. Like, you're not rejuvenating a star here. It's like, is he done? Is he? You know, fair enough. Yep.
I don't know. I just see the potential, that's all. I just think his striking is pretty crisp.
I'm saying, like, we can see that, but he's, like, you know, it's a bit niche, isn't it? A 14-9 guy who's had all these losses, and then has just been beaten by Bahamondes in that fashion. You know, like, he doesn't. It's not like, make Jalen Turner great again. Like, you know. Did you see
the interview with him where he was like, I was just mentally shot, but now I feel better, and it's like, after I saw that interview before the fight, like I saw it on the Saturday, and then when I saw him wilt like that, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, he probably just doesn't have the fighter spirit, man.
Yeah, I think that's
just have it.
Yeah.
Speaking of fighters who have the fighting spirit, Amanda Lemos won a unanimous decision. I'll tell you my viewing experience of this, Tom. Put the fight on. Skipped about 2 minutes into round 1. Lemos on top. Okay. Skip to round 2. 2 minutes in. Lemos on top. And skip to round 3. 1 minute to go. Lemos on top. So nailed that one with the decision.
Yep. Yeah, you've done better than me, Joe. Although I did pick up enough to know that it was a decisive kind of 2 rounds to 1.
Sure.
No further comments.
Cool.
I mean, 37-year-old Lemos or something to that effect. I don't know. Why is this on the main card?
Sure. Mauricio Hufi knocks out King Green. Probably going to be the front runner for knockout of the year. That was unbelievable. Feints the left hook and then comes round with the spinning heel kick. That was just some ninja stuff, wasn't it? That was Buckley-esque with the techers.
I mean, I assume your first thought when you see that knockout is Terry Etim.
Terry Etim and
Barbosa.
Yeah. Except Etim went backwards and Bobby Green ate the fucking mat. I think he broke his nose on the landing, didn't he?
Oh boy, I didn't know that. Yeah. Like he fell in a bad way. It was a bad knockout. It's exactly what we expected. It's kind of sad. Does it take a bit of a shine off it when it's like, okay, King's been put in there to
take that.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Actually, that was my thinking. Because I'm a bit like with Hoofy. I'm like, why don't you just chuck him into it against a ranked guy? Why are we wasting our time with Bobby Green here? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes these fights land with me where I'm like, okay, let's see the young guy, see what we can do. It's like, I know this guy's good. Like, where's Kuta Teladze? Do you know what I mean? Like, let's drag him out there. Get him going. What are you laughing about? I think that's a fair shout.
Hoofy versus Kuta Teladze. Sorry, Joe. I'm thinking of. I had Jon Kutalaba in my head. And out of left
I'd love to see that. Prelims, obviously we lost the Curtis Blades fight, but we got Joshua Van defeating Ray Saruya. Saruya, by the way, is an amazing wrestler, grappler. Did you watch this fight, by the way?
I didn't.
Go out your way to watch it. But he's just so one-dimensional, and Josh Van, I don't know, I'm seeing it with this guy. He had that weird loss to Charles Johnson where he was winning it quite comfortably, and Johnson was like, saw his UFC career hanging in the balance and decided I've just got to go for it, and then finished him. Fair enough. But yeah, I think Josh Van, he's got some skills. This guy, I'm pretty impressed with him. Pretty impressed. Yeah, that's it. Should we just wrap it up?
Yeah, I think we can do that, Joe. I mean, the prelims, I can see, some worthwhile fights on there. Another win for Bruno Pereira.
Yeah, that's true.
He's fun. He's going places.
Yeah, he's got some skills as well. Well, sir, has anything else happened on this card?
Yeah, I mean, Carlos Leal, he gave a really battling performance when he first came into the UFC against Rinat Fakhretdinov. He was getting a very short notice fight. Yeah. But do you remember it back in UFC 308? He made Fakhretdinov work very hard for the fight, and so this was his proper chance with a build up. And Morono's a good opponent, so a first round knockout is it's a way to get your career underway.
Nice. Right, we'll be back, listeners, for UFC 314. Oh my good lord. Oh god, this is the day after my birthday. Well, what a present this is. Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez for the vacant featherweight title. Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. 5-round co-main. Bryce Mitchell, Jean Silva, Jeff Neal, Carlos Prates, and Nikita Krylov versus Dominic Reyes. Oh, okay. Right. Yair Rodriguez versus Pitbull is on the prelims of that fight.
Yeah, but Dana did push back on that, saying that they haven't actually made that decision yet. Things can change. So
fair enough.
Yeah, I think he was a bit like taking. Yeah, I do watch the press conference. Yeah, I got to be honest, I find Dana quite an interesting character to listen to. Don't agree with everything he says, Joe. Obviously, there's plenty to dislike, but he is an enigmatic figure. Did you see the press conference for that card? Oh no, sorry, no, I haven't seen that.
Oh, watch it just for the Jean Silva, Bryce Mitchell interaction. Particularly when Jean Silva just gets up and starts barking. That was particularly good. By the way, just to let you know, Bryce Mitchell heavily booed during that. So
thank God.
The world isn't so wrong. Yeah, thank God. Do you know what? It shows the level of the sport at the moment where I'm thankful that like I was worried that they weren't going to boo him.
Joe.
Yeah.
You did say we won't be back until UFC 314, but there is the London card.
Yeah, we'll come back for that.
It is customary. We've got Gunnar Nelson versus Kevin Holland, Jan Blachowicz, Carlos Ulberg, Leon, of course, and a big fight for him against Sean Brady, headlining, and some other big UK stars: Nathaniel Wood, Jordan Vucinic, Jai Herbert.
Hold on. Also, I mean, we got to do a preview for this card as well. Your boy Marvin Vettori is back facing Roman Dolidze. Do you want to preview that one, or
I could do it right now? Vettori wins it all day, baby.
All right, your boy. Oh, I'm looking at this card, by the way, the London card. Pretty good. Molly McCann, Estela Nunez, 6-5 for Nunez. Oh my good lord, just laying that one up, aren't they? Vucenic versus Chris Duncan, by the way, that will be a very good fight. That will be a very, very good fight. So yeah, this is a really good card actually. And your boy, the Black Country banger, Jai Herbert. Oh, Kutateladze's opening this card. And
Kutateladze's on it. Yep.
Right.
And right. Christian Leroy Duncan. You know, it's just it's good stuff, Joe. It's good stuff.
I like this card. All right, we'll be back for that then.
Thanks a lot.
Listeners, speak to you then. Bye bye.
Bye bye.